Hello everyone, welcome to Khatri 3D. In this video, we will talk about the hair bits of the character. In the last video, we have sort of worked on the character a lot by polypainting and merging all the parts and adding necessary details. But as you can see, the hair was pretty rough and was blocked out by the simple shapes. I always do this for my characters. I block out the basic of the head, then use additional spades on it and block out the final hairs. So let's begin blocking out the hairs. Now as always, I will start with the brush. It could be anyone. I use the Shane Olsen brush. You could use whatever brush you want, but it does have to be a sphere. Alright, I will just pick the color of the mustache and make sure the mustache part is selected, which is this subtool, and I will choose the brushes again and just click and hold and just add the spheres. Nothing too crazy, just simple sphere. My dynamic subdivision is turned on. Okay, use D to turn the dynamic subdivision on. It works like a preview of multiple subdivisions. Alright, now I will block out one part and will duplicate the others. Okay, you have to make the design appealing. I will split it with the split mask points because I don't need to change and mess up the base mesh. I always do this, then again I merge it later. Alright then, you have to understand that the design itself needs to be appealing. I always talk about the appeal. Alright, and for this mustache, the appeal comes with the taper, curve and straight. I will just duplicate it and revert the mask, hit Ctrl W to give it a separate polygroup. Now I need to make sure the parts overlap each other, because one thing you have to keep in mind that for making the shapes interesting, you have to use overlapping a lot. It can be overlapping shapes, it can be overlapping geometry, it can be overlapping design, because the straight and same patterns human eyes will recognize really easily, but for the overlapping parts, curves and straight, all those designing fundamentals, the design will be more appealing. Alright, now I will add additional parts. Alright, and again revert the mask, hit Ctrl W and just this type of stuffs do take time. Alright, this is why sometimes I just make it a fast forward, because these are the same steps repeated again and again. What I can do is I will first block out the shapes first, then I will start to edit them and try to make it more interesting as possible. Okay, I will use the polish tool and I need to make sure that I will duplicate it again and revert it. Duplicate, revert it again, and need to block out all the parts first, then would think about the design itself. We need to have the all elements in our character, then we could think about moving those parts and making it more interesting. But again, we need to tackle that block out first. Now then, we are in a place now that we can manipulate the shapes. Okay, for this last part I always use the inflate brush and make it more appealing. Okay, more taper that way. But let's see, if I will need more parts I can easily edit more. Now all these shapes I need to make it interesting. These are not good shapes, they are uneven shapes. So what I can do is, with the move topology brush you can assist to B and M. It will move only the topology, not the whole radius itself. Now I can think about the thin taper curves and straight, okay, and make sure they overlap, because this is the part you experiment and make the design more interesting. Sometimes I delete parts in order to experiment that do it need more parts or more blockout meshes or not. So if I feel like the parts are really unnecessary, I block it out. Okay, then this is kind of getting funky at the moment, but I am trying to experiment it. Let's see if I can undo or not, which I deleted earlier. Yes, I can. I'm trying to make it equal, or not equal, but in a sorted way. What is sorted way? That all the parts are not equal but appealing at the same time. I'm trying to make the overlap a thing here. Okay, this is something I can always come back and move the part. This is the magic of blocking out with spheres. Okay, so before I jump back forth with these two subtools, I need to merge them. Okay, and just like my previous videos, I do merge them with this trick. Select this mesh you want to merge and this arrow, hold shift and click. It will move the subtool at the bottom of the screen. Select these parts and do this again and it will place at the bottom of the screen like the previous subtool. Now select the upper one and merge down. You can assist this merge down in the merge menu. Now all these two subtools are merged, and now see the magic. I can just use the normal move brush and play with the overall proportions of the shapes. Okay, I'm jumping back from move and move topology. I'm trying to make the mustache interesting as possible, appealing as possible by looking at it. All right, these some parts need to be merged. Okay, this stuff takes a lot of time and I don't want to repeat the same steps again and again. So, or I could make a time lapse, but it will sometimes gets boring. Time lapse do gets boring. I need to just try to make it curve these parts and make it interesting and possible. Okay, make sure the silhouette is changed a little bit and you can already see the magic of changing the silhouette. Okay, always think about the silhouette, what impact it is making on your character. If your silhouette is readable and good, your character will definitely be very appealing. Alright, I need to make this part again curve and straight. Curve and straight are very important fundamentals. Okay, let's experiment. If I open the gizmo, hold control and move this yellow square, it just inflated. I'll undo again. Let's see. Now let's call it done for now, and let's move to the heads. The heads on the original concept were like opened and was moving using the wind or something, like it was all spread out and making patterns of some kind. So I will again, as usual, use the insert mesh brush, select the hairs, use the insert mesh brush and block out like I always do. Alright, what I can do is I can, first of all, let's scale it a little bit and use the bend curve. I always use bend curve whenever I need to somehow block out the curve object. Okay, it works very well when you are blocking out. Let's use some additional, smooth it out, no, and twist. Let's use the twist. Okay, it is use the twist, and now then we have some kind of a base to work with. I will use W again. First of all, I will accept bend curve so it doesn't make problems. Now I can make it thinner on one side and try to match the shapes more appealing. I use appeal word a lot, okay, because it is very important for stylized work especially. So I will use the same fundamentals, or you could say workflow. I will do work from the one side and duplicate the other, then I will break the symmetry and move those parts. Work smarter, not harder, but for that I need to work on the shapes. Okay, I will try to use the lasso tool and make these shapes taper like this. Okay, I could do the same with the bottom part as well. Let's separate this so the other base meshes don't get in the way. Okay, again use the lasso tool and just smooth it out. Now again I will use the lasso tool to mask, and it works really well, the lasso tool, for making the shapes thinner from one side to another, but instead of using the move brush. Alright, now I will duplicate it, revert the mask, give it a separate polygroup. So I might do these steps again and again, so why not make a time lapse out of it to make it less boring as possible. Now I will break the symmetry, alright, and move these parts. I will remesh it really quick because the mesh is stretching a lot. Use the polish feature or the polish by feature. Now I can work really freely around it. Auto groups, duplicate it. Now then I have a blockout of the hairs. Now I can use the move brush overall and change the proportions of the heads. I need to make it a bit more in length from middle of the heads. Okay, now I will select the base of the hair and try to merge it with the base of the hairs. So Now we are getting somewhere with the heads. I will move these parts and just move to this side, so when I render it, the head needs to be shown from this side. Okay, I need to make the hairs more interesting as possible from one angle. Alright, I will select the other parts as well and try to mimic this side, because our render will be from this side, so I need to work on this side. This model is not for game production or any kind of animation, so I will just render it. For this I could cheat and break the symmetry, because we don't break the symmetry if you are retopologizing. Okay, trying to make a pattern somewhere. Jump back to the third piece here, and again need to make interesting shapes as possible. Let's try to use the lasso tool here. Okay, same with the and same with the first part. Now then, the head looks pretty decent, and I could change later, but let's see how the design lead us to, where the design lead us to. Of course, if it needs to be changed, I will change it in the future. Now then, I have the heads. Alright, I will work on this side later, and we have the heads of the mustache and the heads of the back. They are just simple spheres, and all I'm using is move brush. Okay, I can always come back later after finishing out the block out and use clay brush and refine it more, but for now I'm only thinking about blocking out the secondary shapes. I've blocked out the primary shapes before and we came up with this guy, but secondary shapes I need to work on now. And as I said, I will block out the eyelashes and then the iris. Alright, I will block out the iris as well. Now I will give bit of a love to iris as well. As you can see, I have mentioned that I don't keep the eyes as it is. I always use separate meshes for the iris, and it will sit on top of sclera, which is this white part. So I will add spheres and block out this iris design. So I will select the eyes and I will freeze subdivision levels, because it won't let me upload insert mesh brushes if I have subdivision levels on a mesh. So select the brush. I will use quad sphere to remember this is Shane Olsen brush. You can always get it free from his site, or you could use the default brush ZBrush provides. So I will drag it down, then I will split marks it, because for the workflow and for my own ease, I separate these meshes and then merge it later in the end. So I have merged I will hit D and I will select the eyes again and for the subdivision levels. Now I will switch back to the newly uploaded meshes and just use Gizmo to scale down the shape first. Always choose the shortest part, because work smarter not harder. So I will just try to match the shape via Gizmo 3D tool. I will use move brush and let's see how far I can go with the Gizmo tool. Alright, just Gizmo tool and use scale. Then use move brush to block out the remaining where you can see the paint. I will use Gizmo tool again and just show it in. Okay, move again Then you just have to align it with the painted iris. Okay, I do this with all of my characters. Alright, I do this with all of my characters and it just makes process easier. Now how it will make it easier, if I go back to the eyes and select this white paint by hitting C and fill it object, now you could see that my eyes are pure white. Okay, if I hide it and I will turn on the iris as well, and I can just push and move and change the design and proportion of the iris as I see fit. So I think if I try to make it a little bit wider from this angles, I could go stray away from the concept, but I don't want to do it for now. Okay, now all it remains is the material toy plastic. I always fill the eyes with toy plastic material, so I have the move brush selected. You could choose any brush and make sure the RGB is turned off and material M is turned on, and go to the materials and choose toy plastic. Alright, and now the M is selected. If I fill object, it will only fill object with the material, not the RGB. Alright, it is fill the material with the toy plastic, and now I can just go back to skin shade 4 and you can see I have this toy plastic materials added onto the iris. This is how I do this. Now I will do the same with the eyelashes as well. I could do is insert mesh, use the insert mesh brush, or I could just copy this iris and give it a separate polygroup and split mask point, so the mesh must be partially masked. So I will just hit open gizmo and control click and mask the other part and just split masked it. Okay, because we don't want to have the both meshes, eyelashes and iris on the same subtool. Alright, now I could do is I will use the bend curve. I always use bend curve whenever I need to bend the mesh. Okay, gizmo tool, use bend curve and just push it around. I can use the increment a little bit. Okay, and just push it around so it matches the base of the shape, basic shape actually, and I don't need to go crazy on it like this. Alright, I can just push it here and push it here like this. Okay, now I have something to work with this bend mesh, and now I can just move back to the move brush and just smooth it out, and I need to make it a really thin. Alright, really thin. This is how I make eyelashes. I use spheres 90% of the time during my blowout. Okay, I use 90% of the spheres. Okay, now we can always go back and I will just paint the black part with the skin color. This skin color, I will turn the local symmetry off and just so I could see where the eyelashes stand. Now then, the eyelashes don't look bad. Okay, we can always come back and refine it more, but for now we need to address other things with the mesh. Now we have the iris and we have the eyelashes and we have the hairs. Now I need to add hair a bit. Let's give some love to the armband as well. As you can see, the thickness was given by dynamic subdivision on. So what I will do is I will turn off the dynamic subdivision on both of them by hitting Shift D, and I will manually give them thickness by using Z modeler tool. So if I've turned frame mode on, for example, and use the Z modeler brush, and first of all I will use Q mesh and polygroup all, and I will give thickness to both of them, distinguishable. Just making a bit thicker. Okay, thicker. So we have the thickness of this armband here, and for that I need to slide this edge loop a little bit. I will make sure I have selected the edge and slide is selected by hitting spacebar. You can open Z modeler command by hitting spacebar. Okay, I will just click and drag because I have slider selected, and here as well. Now I will use the polygroup and polygroup all, not polygroup, Q mesh and polygroup all, and give it a thickness. Alright then. Now I need to extrude this edges, this poly loop. So again I will hover my mouse over to the face, hit spacebar and select extrude and use poly loop. Poly loop works same with all other softwares like Blender and Maya. Just give them enough so it is noticeable. Now for this I need to first move out the mesh a little bit because we don't want it to look janky. Alright, we don't want it to be looking like a janky or uneven shapes. Now then, what I could do is I can slide this edge loop here. Alright, fix it, this part over here, and I will use the extrude. Make sure I have the model selected, hover my mouse over the face, hit spacebar, extrude is selected. I want to use the extrude command and action poly loop. Make sure your cursor is close to this angle and just drag it out. Okay, I need to fix the angle, just drag it out like this and just drag it out like this. Alright, do this again. Over here we have already did that. Now I will hit D to see how the multiple subdivisions will look like by using dynamic subdivision. I need to add some loops around. Okay, so I will hit Shift D and select this edge and use insert mesh. Alright, and just use, I will add the edge loops here and here. Now if I hit D, okay, I need to add some over here as well and here as well. Again same with the I have the band here and I will use the edge loops using the modeler here as well. I could always use the crease PG which is in the polygroup, but it will give me creases on all the different polygroup which I don't want. I will use edge loop manually. Shift D to turn dynamic subdivision off and just add loops over here really quickly. Just quickly, nothing too crazy. Just edge loops, these are. And here as well. Let's see if I've added the edge loop over on this part. Yes, I did. Now if I hit subdivision on, it is giving me a really good preview of what the multiple subdivision will look like. Now all I have to do is tweak the design with the move brush. So I put all the elements here first, then I use move brush and move out the proportions. So we are basically done. Need to refine it a bit more. Alright, and I need to fix this braid a little bit more, his mustache, and I would need to add the hair strands here as well. I'm almost done actually. Now before I wind up the video, I need to address the t-shirt a little bit. As you can see, we only extracted the t-shirt but haven't put a lot of work on it. So if I see the t-shirt at the moment, it doesn't have a real thickness. It has dynamic subdivision on, as you can see, with the thickness slider turned to a little high. So I won't apply dynamic subdivision because it will give me subdivision levels which I don't want, because we need to extrude the loop here to make a neck for the t-shirt. So what I can do is I will just turn off the dynamic subdivision by hitting Shift D and extrude the actual mesh. How I can do that? With the Z-modeler tool. I will hit Shift F to turn on the polyframe, and I will hover my cursor on a face, and if I press spacebar, either I can use extrude, but I will use Q mesh. They both work sort of a same, just a slightly different, but for the creating a thickness of an object all around the mesh, I use Q mesh most of the time. So I hover my mouse over the face, hit spacebar, Q mesh is selected, and polygroup all is selected. Okay, what it will do is it will detect the same polygroup and will add the thickness or extrude it all over. Now we have a thickness of a shirt. Okay, the thickness is quite high because we are not creating a realistic character. It is stylized, so it is sort of a design choice. Okay, now we have a thickness. As you can see, I was fortunate enough, you could see a loop here. I will just extrude this poly loop to create a neck. If I hadn't had this poly loop, I would insert it manually or adjust it by using the slider. So again, I will hover my mouse on the face, hover the cursor on the face, sorry, and press bar, hitting press bar, and I will choose extrude, and I will choose poly loop, which is already selected here, and I can just place my mouse on the edge of this position. I will position my cursor on this edge, on this side of the edge, and just okay the face, and just hit it. Okay, I need to undo and do it properly. Just click and drag, and it will create a poly loop. I don't want to extrude it real high enough, just a little bit subtleness. Now we have a poly loop here. If I press D to turn the dynamic subdivision on, this time it will show us with the actual thickness. Alright, now either I could use insert edges on the edges here to make it sharper, but work smarter not harder, right? So in the polygroup section you will have an option called crease PJ. What it will do is I have made a shortcut here, crease PJ. It will add crease. It will detect polygroups around your mesh and add crease on all over where the different polygroups are attaching. So I will just hit crease polygroup and you would see the difference. Now this has added crease on all over the meshes, is detecting the polygroups and add creases all over it. Now we have hard feeling around our t-shirt, and I will just apply dynamic subdivision now, and what we could do is hit polish by feature. It will smooth it out the actual geometry, or we could just give it another polygroup, another subdivision levels this time. And now sometimes if I do undo, I hit the dynamic subdivision, applied the dynamic subdivision, sorry, but this time it didn't give me enough subdivision levels. I will undo it, and I've hit the crease PJ to give the creases around the mesh, but this time I will turn dynamic subdivision off and I will do Ctrl D manually. This is how I've added dynamic subdivision or the stripe around the t-shirt. So guys, I think I need to wind up the video here. We have come a long way, alright, and in the next video, before UV mapping, I will address the posing of this character. So be sure to watch the next video as well. We will continue creating this character, but we will give it a pose, because without posing the character doesn't look dynamic as it is at the moment, as it is in the original concept. So please make sure you watch the next video. I hope you like this video. Please leave a like and comment, and be sure to share this video with your friend who want to learn stylized character designing on ZBrush, or it could work on any digital software like Blender. So guys, take care. I will see you on the next. Goodbye.